Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tang Winston, and I'm leader of our cybersecurity team, which is in charge of monitoring every action done by my member, and also responsible for using penetration testing to test SCADA system of AMU Semiconductor Limited. We are here to give a risk assessment to your company. Before any further, I would like to introduce my team member, which is Bo Chiu Hui, Chu Yan Hui, and also Teo Yin Xing. As mentioned by your company, the SCADA system play a vital role in controlling manufacturing, and also SCADA system provide convenience, giving SCADA workers the flexibility to monitor operation from anywhere at any time with remote access capabilities. Managers can view the data and document and communicate with the SCADA system using human-machine interface (HMI). With the implementation of HMI and also based on the image, we can see that network is needed to perform this type of function. We found out a vulnerability of the company, which is insufficient of security for SCADA system and also network. For the next threat, I will say that cyber criminal may launch a botnet attack to SCADA system through network, and also they can command the SCADA system if botnet attack successful. Without any hesitation, a botnet attack will be the threat for our company chosen to penetrate your SCADA system. Botnet attack, which is on trending, was planned to be running exploit vulnerabilities of your company SCADA system. First of all, finding and exploiting vulnerabilities. We use CNC server and send botnet through network to your system and to perform their next activities following command programming. Next phase, botnet, which is also called as zombie device, will start to searching and find on vulnerabilities and exploit it. We found that even SCADA network was isolated from other network, but it's still adequate security policy and also lack of security measure when connecting to network. As mentioned by one of the journal, traditional SCADA was designed to work in stand-alone way and rely on air-gap network and properly protocols for security the system. Therefore, the initial design of SCADA will never incorporate security features. Therefore, insufficient of security procedures also causes SCADA expose vulnerability to cyber criminal. Next, let's move on to risk survivability of vulnerabilities. The risk of survivability for this vulnerability is high based on SCADA vulnerabilities and attacks by one of the journal. SCADA has undergone evolution from typically isolated environment to a highly interconnected network. It has made SCADA more vulnerable to various cyber attacks. The new advancements have not only increased productivity but also lead the SCADA system more vulnerable to attack. Based on the journal reference, we found it was more advancement in SCADA system. There are more vulnerabilities which increase the likelihood of the attacks on SCADA system. Due to involvement of SCADA in manufacturing, impact of cyber attack towards SCADA system is considered as high. SCADA system rely on the network infrastructure, and any network failure can result in significant downtime and financial loss. As mentioned by one of the journal, the security breach in small network can lead to loss of service and financial loss to the utility company. Besides from network failure, insecure of SCADA system and also can also easily attacked by cyber criminal. If malware or infection was spread and grow inside the SCADA system, it will cause the paralyzed internal process and also potentially lead to reinstall of SCADA system. Now let's move on to risk treatment. Based on our risk severity report, we are chosen to mitigate the severity of vulnerabilities by using the ways reducing the likelihood of the vulnerabilities by setting up an isolated domain for SCADA system so that other people can't detect our network. Besides that, we will also reduce the impact of the threats by setting up a CPU before entering the SCADA network. When a cyber attack occurs, they will only able to detect an impact on the computer outside of the domain. That's all for me. Next, I will pass to Teo Yin Xing. Thank you.
Thank you to our group leader, Waiter. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teo Yin Xing, and I am a group member of our cybersecurity team. I'm responsible for presenting the results of our risk assessment for the critical data stored on the various file servers, which include individual files, database, and application. First, I will list out the vulnerabilities that we found in the key assets of your company. There are weak access control, lack of proper backups, lack of encryption, and inadequate access control. What is weak access control? Weak access control refer to inadequate security measures implemented on file servers storing critical data. These vulnerabilities may arise due to factors such as weak password, the absence of multi-factor authentication, insufficient permission setting, or misconfigured access controls. Exploiting weak access control enables unauthorized users to gain unauthorized access to sensitive data, compromise its credentiality, integrity, and availability. This poses a significant risk to the organization, potentially leading to data breaches, unauthorized disclosure, and tampering with critical information. The consequences of such unauthorized access include financial loss, reputational damage, and regulatory ramifications. The risk severity associated with weak access controls is classification as high, with a medium likelihood and high impact. Although the likelihood of exploitation may not be as significant as other types of attacks, the potential consequences are very high. Unauthorized access to critical data can result in data breaches, unauthorized disclosure, tampering with sensitive information, financial loss, reputation damage, and legal and regulatory repercussions. Therefore, addressing the vulnerability of weak access control is crucial in mitigating the high risk severity associated with potential security breaches. Mitigate weak access controls is crucial to protect sensitive information, prevent unauthorized access, and reduce the risk of data breaches. By implementing strong authentication mechanisms, establishing proper user access rights, and regularly reviewing access control policy, organizations can enhance data integrity and confidentiality. This not only improves their security posture but also mitigates the impact of potential security breaches, safeguarding their reputation and ensuring compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. Additionally, conducting employee training on access control, best practice, and monitoring access activities contribute to a robust security framework. By addressing weak access controls, organizations can minimize finance loss, reputational damage, and business disruption while fostering trust among customers and stakeholders. And moving on the vulnerability of lack of proper backups, this vulnerability exposes data to the risk of permanent loss or corruption in the face of hardware failure, natural disasters, or unforeseen events. Without adequate backups, the recovery of lost data becomes challenging, if not impossible. This jeopardizes the integrity and availability of critical data, leading to significant disruption in business operations, potential financial loss, and the possibility of encountering legal issues if data loss impact compliance requirements or contractual obligations. The risk severity associated with the vulnerability of lack of proper backups is classified as high, with a medium likelihood and high impact. While the likelihood of encountering the unforeseen events may be moderate, the consequences of not having proper backups in place can be substantial. The lack of proper backups puts critical data at risk, leading to disruption, financial loss, and potential legal issues. Therefore, addressing this vulnerability and implementing robust backup strategies become crucial to mitigate the high risk severity and safeguard the organization's critical data. The mitigation of reduction of the lack of proper backups is essential for ensuring the resilience and availability of critical data within our organization. Inadequate data exposes us to the risk of permanent data loss or corruption in the event of hardware failure, natural disaster, or unforeseen incidents. By addressing these vulnerabilities, we can minimize the potential impact of data loss, maintain business continuity, protect against financial loss, and ensure compliance with legal and contractual obligations. Implementing a robust backup and recovery strategy is crucial for safeguard our data, enhance our ability to recover from destruction, and maintaining the trust of our stakeholders. And now I will pass it to our next member.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chu Yan Hui, and I'm responsible for presenting the results of our risk assessment for the financial procurement and maintenance service of MMU Semiconductor Limited Company. One of the primary vulnerabilities we identified during our testing of MMU Semiconductor Limited was human vulnerability where employees lack security awareness. This vulnerability is vulnerable to threats like phishing attacks, social engineering attacks, malware or ransomware attack. To demonstrate the phishing attack and social engineering attack, we obtained permission from the CSO of MMU. We first started with passive reconnaissance to gather information on the company and its employees. We also examined the company's website to obtain email addresses for various departments, including financial, procurement, and production departments. Using this valuable information, we proceeded with social engineering and phishing attack, sending out emails with attachment to managers and employees. To increase the likelihood of success, we pose as a customer and legal representative to gain their trust and encourage them to download an attachment. We use Gmail to send these emails, which will automatically scan attachments for viruses. Also, Gmail automatically adds a Google Drive link for files larger than 25 megabits. However, we attach a large PDF file containing our Trojan to the email, which was not scanned by Google Drive because it exceeded the 100 megabits limit. As shown in the slide, this is the example of the message when a large file was attached. Our hope was that employees would be careless and open the attachment anyway. And our phishing attack was successful, and we are able to gain control over the computer of the procurement manager. This allowed us to gain access to the procurement system and compromise the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the system. So that's the first vulnerability we discovered through passive reconnaissance, social engineering, and phishing attacks. So let's move on to the risk severity of the vulnerability. The risk severity for this vulnerability is high. According to the 2021 Verizon Data Breach Investigations report, social engineering attacks have become the most common type of cyber attack, accounting for 36% of all breaches. Additionally, phishing attacks remain one of the most effective tactics used by attackers to gain unauthorized access to systems, with a 33% success rate, which means the risk likelihood is high. For the risk impact, the impact of a successful attack can be significant. It could compromise the company's network and systems, allowing the attackers to plant malware, ransomware, or other malicious software. This could lead to system downtime, loss of data, and potential disruption of critical business operations. The impact of a successful phishing attack could also lead to reputational damage for the company. Customers, partners, and other stakeholders may lose trust in the company's ability to protect their information, which could lead to a loss of business and negative publicity. The identified vulnerability of human vulnerability to social engineering and phishing attacks in the procurement server poses a significant risk to MMU Semiconductor Limited Company. It is essential to reduce the risk due to the high likelihood and high impact associated with such attacks. The company must take immediate action to reduce the risk. As mentioned earlier, humans are the weakest link in an organization's security chain. Employees can inadvertently fall victim to social engineering and phishing attacks. By reducing this vulnerability, the company can minimize the chance of successful attacks. However, it is important to note that it is impossible to completely eliminate the risk of social engineering and phishing attacks. Despite best practices, training, and awareness programs, attackers can employ highly convincing techniques that exploit human vulnerabilities. Human behavior, such as curiosity or urgency, can sometimes override even the most comprehensive security measures. Therefore, while the risk can be reduced, it cannot be entirely mitigated. So, the second vulnerability that we identified is the outdated software. This vulnerability is vulnerable to threats like data breach, service disruption, malware attacks, and privilege escalation. During our penetration testing of MMU Semiconductor Limited Company, we conducted a scan using Nmap and discovered that the production server was running Apache Tomcat version 7.0.53, which is an outdated version known to have multiple vulnerabilities. To demonstrate the potential impact of this vulnerability, we attempted to exploit the outdated Apache Tomcat server. We used Metasploit, a popular penetration testing tool, to launch a remote code execution to exploit against the vulnerable server. The exploit was successful and we gained remote access to the server with administrative privileges. Moving on to the risk severity. The risk severity for this vulnerability is high, as both the likelihood and impact of a successful attack are high. The likelihood is high because attackers can easily find and exploit this well-known vulnerability in Apache Tomcat. As for the risk impact, according to the 2022 cost of a data breach report, the average cost of a data breach caused by malicious attack is 4.35 million. If the production server were to go down for several hours or even days, the financial impact on MMU could be significant. Additionally, if sensitive data or intellectual property were compromised in the attack, the reputational damage could be severe. So, for risk treatments, the outdated version of Apache Tomcat poses a significant security threat. Attackers exploiting non-vulnerabilities in outdated Apache Tomcat versions can gain unauthorized access to the production server. This could result in the compromise of system controls, unauthorized modification of configurations, or even complete control of the server, compromising the integrity and confidentiality of the servers. Litigation measures will prevent unauthorized individuals from exploiting the server and limit the potential for unauthorized activities within the company's network. So we recommend MMU Semiconductor Limited Company to mitigate it immediately.
Thank you, Yan Hui. And I am Chu Hui, and I am responsible for Microsoft Office 365 suite for email and business communication. And I am also one of the team analysis, security analyst team in this team. And as we can see, the threats and vulnerabilities for Microsoft 365 suite is as listed as this slide. And I would like to say the threats that we can find is the unauthorized access to the company's data and system that could cause data breach. The intention of the cyber criminals is to gain the access into this company system that will lead to the data breach. And also for state-sponsored attacks, attackers are targeting the company intellectual property and system sensitive information. And also the hacktivist is aiming to the system to cause reputational damage to the company, like DDoS attack, and also the malware and virus attacks through email attachment and links. And lastly, as what Yan Hui just now mentioned, the phishing attacks that is targeting some of the employees through email and team messages that have the access to the company's sensitive data. And the vulnerabilities for this Microsoft 365 suite is the insider threats from the employees with access to sensitive data. For example, what I can say is human error is a very big thing, and it's very high chance to leak the data, as they can enter miscellaneous attachment or leaking sensitive or credential data on purpose, maybe, or by accident. And also the vulnerabilities from the platform itself, which may be exploited by hackers. Like the firewall level of security is not at the highest level, and also it can be bypassed. And moving on is the risk severity. The risk severity for Microsoft 365 suite is high, and also the likelihood and impact will be high, as I can say the risk associated with the use of Microsoft Office 365 suite is high, and then it is given that sensitive natures of the data transmitted through the platform, a breach of data leak result in significant financial loss and reputational damage of the company. And I would like to mention some of the risks, like malware and virus attacks through attachment and links, and also phishing attacks its likelihood is quite high, and also the impact will be very high, as the data breaches and data leak will cause the damage to the company and also cause financial loss. And also the insider threats from employees. Some employees might have bad intentions that they purposely go into the company to try to leak sensitive information or get what they want. The likelihood will be medium, and also the impact should be high, because it also can cause significant financial losses and reputational damage to the company. And also the accidental data leaks, as I mentioned previously, by the employees. Sometimes we tend to like accidentally clicking some links or accidentally sharing the file to other people. The likelihood for this accidental data leaks by employees is low, and the impact is also medium, and the risk severity is low. And moving on, next is the risk treatment. And as we can see, risk could not 100% be eliminated, and therefore the treatment plan is very important to treat all these risks. And my suggestion is to implement like some anti-malware, antivirus software, and do regular service awareness training to the employees. As we can see, this suggestion can reduce the likelihood and impact of the risk toward this organization. And also by implementing risk treatments, the organization can effectively manage and mitigate potential threats and vulnerabilities, thereby to minimize the potential negative consequences. And it is also very important for the organization to provide an immediate solution to reduce the impact that is caused due to the vulnerability and threats. And earlier, as I mentioned, the data leaks and data breach is very high on the risk level. And also we cannot 100% confirm that we could eliminate this risk, but we can actually provide preventions and treatments to treat this risk. And also we'll suggest ways to mitigate this risk and to deploy anti-malware and antivirus solutions. And then most importantly, conduct regular security awareness training towards the employees, and also enable email filtering and also to educate the employees about safe email practices and not to simply click on links. And for example, I would like to mention the phishing attacks that is targeting employees through email and team messages. The risk level is very high, and the treatment is to mitigate it and then also implement email authentication mechanisms. And then, as I mentioned, the conduct phishing awareness training, and then enable anti-phishing filters, and also the establish a reporting mechanism for suspected phishing emails. And in this case, the chosen approach to solving all these issues is to definitely mitigate the risk, and mitigation involves in implementing measures to reduce the likelihood and impact of the risk. And by taking proactive steps to address this risk, the organization can effectively manage the threats associated with the use of Microsoft Office 365 suite, and also enhance the data privacy and security to prevent all these vulnerabilities and also risks. And that is all from me. And we would like to say thank you for your time and understanding to this presentation. Thank you.